Welcome back to another episode of Transformation Talks. I'm your host, Sam Forget, and today we're joined by Georgia Donati Clarke, the founder of the Female Parkour Program, where she helps women get stronger at pull-ups, muscle-ups, and parkour. Georgia, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. I think a great place for us to start would be with how you would explain parkour to somebody who is not already familiar with it. Because I think there's such a wide range of familiarity with the sport. You have people super immersed in it like yourself, people with maybe surface level knowledge like me,
hmm
and then I'm sure you still run into people that are like, "Wait, what is that again? I think I know it."
hmm
So, how would you describe parkour to those people who are completely unfamiliar?
Okay, great question. So, a definition I heard recently that I quite like is movement over obstacles. So, to like synthesize it and keep it simple. So, if dance is movement to music, parkour is movement over obstacles. So, in many different ways, there isn't like one way. We teach a number of like basic skills of how to climb over or jump over obstacles. It's normally done in an urban environment, often like an unstructured environment. So it could be like a square in your city that has some nice walls that are good for jumping across or over. It can be done indoors in parkour gyms, but essentially it is climbing up and over walls or climbing from or jumping from one wall to another. Um, there's many different aspects of parkour. One, for example, is flow, so connecting movements into like a flow. I like to describe it as like dancing on walls. So you find like 5 to 6 movements and try and connect them together in a way that like has no pauses and just flows really well together, like a choreography, like a dance. And it teaches you a lot of different skills, both strength in terms of jumping power and being able to jump between things, but also it teaches you to kind of work on challenges and problem solve. So parkour is quite a creative sport where you might just have a wall and you're like, okay, how can I scale this wall? And you could use climbing techniques, you could use running up the wall, or you might find like some specific holds that can help, which is a bit more closer to climbing. Or you might find like there's a series of walls that are in a slightly different layout than you're used to, and you're like, okay, how can we connect the 3 vaults where these walls are all different heights? And there's a lot of problem solving and figuring out how can we make this work? How can we make this flow nicely? And that's what I love about parkour is actually that a big part of it is finding a challenge and then figuring out how to solve that challenge.
I know, I love those explanations. Now, do you ever find yourself in a scenario where you're continuously trying to solve the same problem? Like you have almost like a vision in your mind for how you want to navigate, a certain wall, or I've seen the rail videos that you post, but you're
Mm,
having to like continue attempting, like, how can I actually make this work?
yeah. Yeah, a good example is like last Sunday, I found a series of railings and I really wanted to stride between them. So like jumping from rail to rail was easy for me, but going from one foot to the other felt really scary. So it's like I had a vision of like, oh, it'd be really nice to stride across these rails. But I'm scared because I have to land on one foot and that feels scary. So then it was like looking around the space, where can I do it that scares me less? And then I found a rail that was much lower and started practicing striding that rail. And then once I did that enough and it was the same distances, which was really helpful, then I went back to the higher rail and was like, okay, now I kind of just need to do it. And there's that
Sure.
moment of like, okay, it's the same, it is the same, but it's still quite scary. And then I did it and it was fine. A lot of the times parkour is like what you're trying to do isn't necessarily hard, but it's scary. And so then it's figuring out how can I practice it in an environment that's less scary and then take it back to the place where I want to do it. But although I think people watch parkour and think, oh, it looks so reckless, it looks so dangerous, it's like actually most of the time the stuff we're doing to us isn't hard. Like we've practiced enough that we're absolutely more than ready for it. It's just it is well, there's I guess there's not a huge amount of room for error. I think parkour athletes are very good at being accurate and being very accurate with their technique, and that comes from hours and hours of practice on ground level and then taking it to like slightly higher. When I say higher, I mean I'm not on rooftops. I don't spend time on rooftops, but it's just like even just chest a rail that's chest height. If you stand on a rail that's chest height, that's quite scary.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure if this is a good comparison, but what came to mind was the gentleman, Alex something, I'm blanking on his last name. He's the famous climber who just scaled that
Mm,
building, the free
Alex
solo guy.
Honnold.
Thank you
Yeah,
for the
Alex Honnold.
assist on
Yeah.
that. And how he shared in that documentary, and I've seen in interviews that what seems totally crazy to us,
Mm,
like the amount of practice that he has put in to continue pushing the boundary of what feels normal and comfortable to him. Now, obviously, he's at the most,
yeah, yeah,
extreme level, and I don't think any amount of practice could get me to attempt the things that he does. But it makes sense what you're describing in that, if we see a video of you even jumping, say from chest height, for example, or from one railing to another,
mm,
there's so much that went into like the process to get to that point where you do. I mean, I see your videos, you make it look easy, and I'm like, wow, like not that I think it is. I know that it's not.
yeah, yeah,
But I guess we don't often see, say, some of the lower things that you started with,
yeah,
or even the things that didn't go super well prior to that point.
yeah, yeah. And I would say we don't bail a lot. Like it's not that we bail and bail until we get it right. It's actually um we practice good technique just at a lower level, and then you take it to
Okay.
slightly higher, slightly higher. I do think parkour people are very good at falling. So we do learn to fall, and we call them bounce backs or splats, where you like land with 2 feet, but you don't necessarily stick the landing. So we learn how to bounce off the walls as well, and that's really helpful. So I can attempt to jump and not make it, but still just kind of push off it and land back on my feet upright, or land on my bum and roll back. But it's all very like safe. So learning how to fall is I've taught workshops on like learning how to fall, and that's very helpful in life as well. Because although I don't use parkour in life to like run away from things, but what I think it is useful for is learning how to fall, because you will trip up and you will, fall in general life. And actually, I think I'm much more resilient to that. So yeah, that's very a helpful skill from parkour.
Oh, that makes total sense. And I do have a lot of questions about like the practical side of things and how somebody could get into it. But I'm curious how you personally did. Like again, I'm somewhat familiar with parkour, but off the top
Hmm.
of my head, I can't think of anybody else I know that actually does it. So how did you get
Hmm.
into it and kind of what was your initial journey like?
Yeah. So I started in Italy. I was 17, so it's like 14 years ago now. And I was living in Italy. I lived in Italy for 10 years because my mum's Italian. So we moved there when I was a child, and I stayed there till I was 18. And I was very bored. I wasn't doing much sport at all. I was actually in quite a bad place, like not a bad place, but in a negative place. I was quite depressed at the time. I'd just been through a bit of a rough year. And it just came at the right time. It was exactly what I needed, because a friend recommended this parkour class and I went along. And parkour is mostly done outdoors, or at the time, like in that city, I lived in Florence in Tuscany in Italy, and there was no indoor gyms, there was no parkour gyms. So it was taught outdoors in a square. And so it was training outdoors, which is really good for your mental health. Like just being in the fresh air and moving your body was so good for me. And then the classes are like basically about overcoming obstacles. So there was like a high chest height wall, and I had to learn how to like vault over it. And the nice thing about parkour is even in just one session, you get better. So that, and that can be quite addictive, which is in a good way. So although by the end of the class I wasn't as good as someone who's been doing it for 15 years, but I'm better than when I walked in. And so that's really addictive. And so I just kept coming back. Like I remember that first class, and it was 2 hours, and at the end of the class, I remember just thinking, oh, I just, for 2 hours, I didn't think about anything. Like I was so focused on this wall and like not bailing and listening to what the coach was saying, that for 2 hours, I kind of had a break from the rest of my life, from everything else that was going on. And that, at least in the initial period, that's really what kept me coming back, is it was just such a nice, almost like a meditation practice, like just a break from I think people get it, even just going to a fitness class. You're probably so focused on getting through those 45 minutes that it's quite de-stressing experience, because for those 45 minutes you're not thinking about the work emails and the things. And that's what it was like. So for the first 2 years of my journey, trained in Florence with this group that were coaching. And then 2 years later, I moved to Brighton in the UK for university. And there weren't really classes. So I kind of had to figure things out and tried to train with this young group of guys. And yeah, my journey changed from then onwards. But that's how I got into it in the first place, was through classes. And I think it's a really good way to get into parkour.
Yeah, what you're saying resonates a lot in terms of the like in a variety of physical endeavors, the opportunity to get immediately better, like to rack up
Mm,
wins and just, yes, there's always something to work on, but that very
mm,
positive mental association with, okay, I know that every time I do this thing, yeah, there may be some frustrating moments along the way,
mm,
but I also have the opportunity to do something that I've never done before. And like you said, you can get that, say in strength training, for example, or in a class, maybe you lift a weight that you've never thought you'd be able to lift before.
mm.
Maybe in a parkour class, you're able to, you know, I don't know, forgive me, I don't know the correct terminology, but say scale a wall or, I know you'd said what's the terminology for the railings?
Stride, like stride the
Right.
railing. Stride is like one
Okay.
foot. So
Okay.
like jump or plyo is like 2 foot, and we talk about plyos. And then striding is when you go like literally from
Okay.
one foot to the other, kind of like running,
Sure.
running on rails.
Okay.
Yeah,
Makes sense. So
yeah,
yeah, just the opportunity to stride something that you haven't done before, whether
yeah,
it's
yeah.
scaling a certain wall. I could add, so I've never done it, but I could see how, say, similar to what I've experienced with strength training, just that opportunity to, oh, I didn't think I'd be able to do that, or
Mhm.
I've never done that before, how that could be such an addicting thing in a good way. Like, all right, let me see what else I'm capable of.
Yeah, yeah. It's really interesting and good, and correct what you're saying. Of I feel like maybe not every single session, but most sessions I do something I hadn't done before, so
Mhm.
that's really fun. And also, yeah, most sessions I do something I hadn't done before. But also most sessions I learn something like even if there's a jump that's too big for me now, I'm like, okay, how can I break this down? And I might find another jump that's really similar and do that, or figure out a way to kind of at least get familiar with this jump and try to bridge that gap between right now it feels really big and scary, and how can I make it feel more approachable? Um, Another big part of parkour is having fun, like being outdoors and just figuring things out. Like this is where classes are great, but often they kind of give you here's how to learn this vault, here's how to jump, here's how to, and that's great in the beginning. But a huge part of parkour is also figuring things out, and everyone's body's different. Everyone's even just ability to like some people are more explosive, some people are more strength, more strong and less explosive. As a woman, I feel much less explosive than a man. So sometimes the way he figures out a challenge isn't always going to work for me, and sometimes I have to find a different way to do it. And that's part of the fun in it. Is like, okay, I need to figure out my way to do this. There isn't one way to get from this wall to that wall. I can find a different way to get there that works for me. Um, One thing I think I've gotten really good at recently is not comparing to other people. And that's given me a lot more joy in my training. Is like instead of being like, oh, they can do that and I can't, being like just focused on my journey. And actually, when I arrive at a parkour spot, at a parkour sort of location where we train, instead of trying to copy what other people are doing, see what draws your attention and walk to the parts of the spot of the location that draw you and the movements that you're drawn to. And that has helped me a lot to just because every day you might be in a different place mentally or physically than someone else. They might be having their best day ever, but that doesn't mean you can't still have a good training session, or you might be having your best day ever, and actually you might give off good energy to them. So yeah, one thing I've really worked on is not comparing as much and instead focusing on your journey.
Yeah, I think that's phenomenal advice. And in anything, parkour, when you're in the gym, seeing what people can do, body composition stuff, because I just feel like it's kind of a losing battle. There's always going to be somebody who's more advanced in some way. Whereas if you do exactly what you mentioned, all right, let me, what was I doing last week? Can I beat that? Or maybe what's the new challenge I have in front of me today? Then, like we're saying, you pretty much always have the opportunity
Yeah,
to do something or experience something that makes you feel better rather than eyes, looking around, seeing what
yeah,
other people are doing when you may
yeah.
not have a similar experience.
Yeah, it's so true. And yeah, what I was trying to say at the beginning was about fun. Parkour can be so much fun. And I think, especially if you're someone who's in the gym and is kind of getting a bit bored of it, even just adding parkour in like maybe once a month or once a week, could be a really fun way to just challenge yourself. Like, okay, you've spent 6 months getting strong in the gym. Now, can you test that outdoors? How good are you at like because as much as I say, like, I hate the idea of like I don't use parkour out and about to like run away from people or anything like that. But there are moments where I locked myself out of my house the other day and I just walked around the back and climbed over the fence. And I luckily had left the back door open. And then my flatmate was like, oh, but how did you get over the fence? I was like, I don't know, I just climbed the fence. Like I didn't really think about it. But so that doesn't happen very often. But in that situation, I was like, actually, I felt really calm climbing it. She probably, if she had to, would have climbed it, I guess. But it would have been a lot bigger ordeal for her to like actually climb over this slightly rickety fence.
Yeah.
Um, so it can be a nice way if you're training a lot in the gym to just test yourself and be like, oh, can I actually, how strong am I in these sort of, I don't want to say more natural movements, but kind of like different movements, more a little bit more animalistic movements. And parkour can be so much fun. One of the biggest things it's given me is I've met so many people through parkour, and they are so lovely, and I have such a great community of and group of friends from parkour. And that's definitely one of the things that has kept me coming back is actually being able to go out for an afternoon, try some challenges with a group of people I like, and share that training experience together and have a laugh. Like a lot of the time, it's, we're having a laugh, we're like succeeding at things, like getting the jump, achieving the jump, and celebrating that together, or celebrating that they've achieved the jump, but also sometimes bailing and not, falling in funny ways, and just having fun figuring it out together. And I think that's a really, I kind of take it for granted because it's just normal and it's part of our everyday training. But actually, sometimes I tried to take a step back recently and look at it and be like, oh, yeah, sometimes if I just look at the way we are as a group, we're just a bunch of adults playing together. I don't think of it like that, but actually, that is kind of what we're doing. We're just, oh, these two, someone will text, like, I found this new place that's like, these walls are really good. And then we'll go there and be like, cool, what can we do here? And we're kind of just playing with our bodies or playing with the walls and figuring it out and having fun. And actually, that's a really great thing to do.
Yeah, oh, that's incredible. I think most of us get very little of that the older that we get, connecting with other people over something physical, just like moving. I do think that the go-to social outlet for most people, the older we get, is, basically food and drinks, which has its place,
Yeah.
but to be able to branch out a bit and do something as unique as, hey, I found this new place. Let's see what we can do here. I think that's
Yeah.
incredible. And
Yeah.
then, like you said, from a physical perspective, I like how you use the term more animalistic, kind of more natural, because I'm a meathead. I love the gym, but I understand that we need to move in a variety of movement planes, right? And in the gym, it's so easy to kind of get stuck in that same plane of I'm going to press and I'm going to row, I'm going to hinge and I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
squat. And yes, that stuff is foundational, it's important. But I mean, I see this with the other meatheads I work with all the time where months will go by and they haven't really moved a whole lot in different planes. They haven't challenged their body in other ways. So
Mm-hmm.
from a physical perspective, the things that you're doing, moving laterally, rotating, challenging your muscles another way, like, from a grip strength perspective, core. I mean, just it sounds like it offers so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually, I love the gym too, and I go to the gym a lot, at least 2 times a week, every week. And I started going to the gym for parkour to get stronger, and then now I love it. I absolutely do. But I will say, like listening to you talk, and I agree. And there's nothing quite like we call it breaking a jump, where you look at a jump, it scares you, but you know it's in your capability. We say that if you're standing on a wall looking at a jump and you're considering it and you're scared, it's probably because you can do it. Because if it was absurd, if it was like, no way I'm getting there, you don't even get the fear because your brain kind of knows like, well, you're not actually going to do it. You're not actually going to jump. But when you're scared, it's usually because your brain's like, oh no, you're actually going to do this. And we can do this. And that, so actually, if you're kind of looking at a jump for more than a few seconds, it's probably because it's within your capability. Doesn't mean you have to do it today, but it probably means it is actually a realistic challenge. And there's nothing quite like that feeling of what we call breaking a jump. So breaking through that fear and actually doing it. And also that feeling of flow, of like connecting 4 or 5 movements in a flow with limited pauses, with nice connections between them, and performing the actual movements well. And there's a lot to it. There's a lot to how you do that. And when you get it just right, and we're in an era where we do use our phones a lot, and we get clips of like, if it's a really nice flow line, we might get a video of it and then watching that back, and knowing how like the feeling of getting it right and it looking seamless, kind of, that's why I say like kind of like a dance, is so good. And I have to say it's better than being in the gym. Like when you get it right, it's
Um,
I guess it's kind of a creative practice. It's like, I guess maybe like when you write a new song or you paint something and then it's yours, you made it. Because the way I do a flow line, technically someone could do exactly the same line as me with the same movements and it will be pretty similar. But a lot of the time we're all choosing slightly different movements and so it is very you, it's your style. And yeah, it's so fun. It's so rewarding when you get it right.
I can see you light up even thinking about,
Yeah.
getting something like this. That's incredible. I did want to ask you about the strength training side of things, and you had said that you started to get into that because of parkour. So, okay, 10
Mhm.
years ago, you get into parkour in Italy. When did the strength training follow, and what has your strength training journey been like
Yeah.
since?
Yeah, so the first classes I did, they did incorporate some strength and conditioning, not with weights, but outdoors. But the
Mhm.
classes would end with like box jumps, push-ups, and pulls on a wall and stuff like that to obviously build up what they called like your body armor, so that you can, if you have more muscle around your body, then
I
obviously
like
you're going to
that.
be more resilient. Yeah, resilient to taking impact or resilient to repeated landings and things like that. And in parkour, we actually try to take as little impact as possible. So whilst it is a high impact sport, we want to last. We want to be doing it for as long as possible. So we, yes, we do take the drops and we do jump between walls and down to lower walls, but we're always trying to use the best technique to take the least impact rather than just slamming into the wall. So that's technique mostly, but also the stronger you are, the better you'll be at absorbing your landings. So I started a little bit in those classes outdoors, but then when I went to university, because there wasn't a super tight knit community in Brighton, I started going to the gym with my uni friends, and that was kind of just the first like experiences in the gym and doing kind of what the guys were doing in the gym, a bit of back squat, I remember, and like push ups and pull ups and things like that. Then after university, 3 years later, I moved to London for my first job, and that's when there was the first indoor parkour gym. So I went there and they ran classes. And I remember I did some Olympic lifting classes, which was super fun, and some just strength and conditioning classes. And that's where I started to strength train a lot more. And it was great because it was inside a parkour gym. So they understood parkour. They were often parkour coaches as well. So the programming was kind of tailored to what we needed in parkour. So a lot of pull ups, a lot of rows, a lot of back squat, front squat, deadlift, lunges, things like that. And just getting strong. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What do you feel like has had the biggest transfer from the gym lifts to parkour? I mean, I'd imagine pull-ups are toward the top of the list. But what else comes to
Yeah.
mind for, hey, this has been really helpful and I've seen this make a difference?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess squat and deadlift definitely for like explosive power. I'm really working on like 5 RM, 1 RM, that kind of end because if you can deadlift and squat really heavy, then jumping your body weight is super easy. So that's kind of the principle I like to use, and I think it's really useful. Pull-ups definitely, but also I spent a lot of time in lockdown on the rings, on gymnastics rings, because I just put them up in my house, literally just with a pull-up bar over the door, like one of those ones you just hang on and take it off. It's a temporary pull-up bar, and then the rings hanging underneath it. And I spent a lot of time, and in the end, worked on the ring muscle up and got that. And although I wouldn't have said that it doesn't look necessarily like something you would do on a wall, but actually, when I was really strong at a ring muscle up was when my climbing was the best. So I think just the raw strength you get from working on the gymnastics rings really helped when you're, doing parkour. You maybe done a couple of movements already, and then you go to scale the wall, and you're actually quite tired. Having that strength to stick with it and climb up really helped. So yeah, working on the gymnastics rings actually really helped.
Sure. And the clients you're working with now, are they generally coming to you for the parkour side of things, strength? I think you posted the
Mm.
other day that your ideal client, it's a little bit of both. It's like, hey, I want to get
Mm.
stronger in the gym, but I also want to see what I can do from a parkour perspective.
Yeah, yeah. Um, So in the last year, I've really started to lean into parkour in my online coaching as well. Originally, or prior to that, I was working more as a strength coach and fat loss coach online. And then I did parkour in my own time. And I would share a bit about me, like, and what I was doing, but because I knew people liked it, it was a bit different, but I wasn't necessarily offering it as like, this is what I teach people. And then I started to realize that people were interested in parkour, and actually that's what drew them to me, and that's what made me stand out. So in the last year, I've kind of shifted my focus and the focus of the business more towards parkour. So now I would say people come to me more for parkour, because I've lent that way and I've encouraged it. I would say the difference with working with me is if you're working one on one, then I say that's perfect for someone who wants to get strong and wants to lose weight. And then I have a group coaching program, which is just parkour. Like we have some strength training in there, absolutely. But if you're wanting to get better at parkour, join the group program. If you want to lose weight and get strong, then one-on-one coaching is for you. So I don't really talk about weight loss in the group program. Also because I have quite young athletes in the group program, so I think also it's just not the place to like. We can talk about it briefly. It's not like taboo, but equally like it's not the place to really have like a really clear specific weight loss goal. That's what one-to-one is for. So yeah, the clients still come to me a lot for getting strong, but getting strong for parkour. So the latest lady that signed up this week, she wants to get stronger and lose a bit of weight, but she also goes to parkour classes. And when she told me that, I was like, that's why you've reached out to me. You're not asking me to teach you parkour right now, because right now she wants to lose weight for her wedding in November. But the reason you've picked me out of all the fat loss coaches that are out there is because I get it. I do parkour. So that's like, I understand you, and I understand why you like parkour, because I do too.
Sure. And I'd imagine the goals play really nicely together, where as you are improving your body composition, as you are getting stronger overall, you tend to feel more athletic during your parkour sessions. And then it's like both things continue feeding off each other. I'm sure the strength that you develop, again, kind of in that more natural with parkour, I'm sure this carry over toward the gym and then vice versa.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, absolutely what you said. Yeah, if you do lose a little bit of weight and you're lighter, you're going to feel a little bit lighter in your parkour movements. And also mentally, you're going to feel better. If you're coming to me feeling a bit like meh about your body, then we can help you like have a bit more. Often it's structure. Like the woman I was speaking to this week, it really was structure. Just she was doing a lot of the right things. It's not like her diet's good. She's already training and exercising regularly, but it was just there wasn't really structure. She was using ChatGPT to like plan her workouts. And so on the call, she said to me, like, it's really nice to talk to a real person. I was like,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, anytime.
absolutely.
So a lot of what she was doing, she was kind of changing it regularly. Whereas I think what coaching can give you is structure and accountability and making it actually happen. And also inspire you. I think I've realized as a coach, my job is to inspire them as well. And like, especially with parkour, to show them like I'm training, or I have had a setback, I have had an injury, but this time navigating it, stuff like that. And actually just show them like, you don't have to give up and stop. Like, it's normal to have little setbacks throughout the year, but it's about not getting too in your head about it, and actually being like, okay, this is part of the journey, it's part of using my body. And um, as long as I find a way around it that's healthy, then I can keep going. And sure enough, within a few weeks, you probably forgot about that injury and are progressing again.
All right, so picking back up from a slight technical difficulty on my end, I did want to pivot a little bit and ask you about the nutritional side of things. As we talked about a couple of days ago before we recorded, I think much of the nutritional content that we see, including much of my own, revolves around body composition and fat loss stuff, and obviously that has its place. But I'm curious how you go about your nutrition from a performance perspective. Like I would imagine you eat a certain way to make sure you feel good during your gym sessions, during your parkour sessions. So what exactly does
Yeah.
that look like?
Yeah, yeah. And I'm also a very busy person and like business owner. So maybe people can relate as well. Like I don't spend all my time doing parkour. I've also got so much on my plate. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. It's like, how do you fit in your training? How do you show up to those training sessions with energy? And that I think I'm in my 30s now, and like I think that's a really common challenge. And so for me, nutrition is so, so important. Um, I keep things really simple. I'd say like there's a couple things it boils down to is like making sure my main meals are really healthy. So I try and cook everything from scratch, but I don't take a lot of time. So they have to be quick meals. I'm not going to spend hours in the kitchen. I live with one flatmate, but I essentially live on my own. Like I look after my own food. So I don't want to be cooking like 1 hour meals or 2 hour meals. They need to be quick, but they need to have lots of fruit and veg. Um, Carbs are super important for energy. So always a carb source, whether that's potatoes, rice, pasta, bread. Last night I had a bolognese, so like pasta and beef. And then obviously protein. So protein, which is important for recovery, rebuilding muscles, energy. It's also important for feeling satiated, like feeling that you're full. And so I kind of keep to those principles of like, is my plate full of veggies, got some sort of carb source, got some sort of protein, and that's your main three meals, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then snacking, I mean, with clients, it really varies. People have very different struggles. I'm someone who I'm a foodie. I can eat lots. I enjoy food. Um, I also really love sweet things. So for me, I have a few rules of like, have you eaten fruit today before you go for the sugary snack? So I try again another way to get more of my 5 or 10 a day. I think actually we probably need more than five a day. Is like, have I had fruit yet? So then I'll have like a banana, an apple, some grapes, kiwi, whatever. Um, I'll try and prioritize that. And then I can have the sweet thing. I'm not like anti that. I'm not a clean diet type person. I think there's a place for everything. But obviously, what you do most of the time is going to influence how you look, how you feel. And if anything, I really focus on how I feel. Like, yes, how you look is important, but how you feel is like step one. Like, do you feel good? Do you feel good mentally? Do you feel good for training? Do you feel good for like just showing up for your life, for your friends, for your family? So I found since I've started eating better, yeah, I just feel completely different. I think it's improved everything. It's improved my sleep. It's improved how I show up to things, and improved my relationships. So I really try and eat healthy, but in the simplest way possible without overcomplicating things.
I'm with you. And I like how you mentioned the impact, not just on your training and parkour sessions, but your ability to show up socially and have lots of energy
Mm,
and feel great and feel like yourself. As a business owner, your ability to, show up sharp for your clients, just kind of that impact across the board.
yeah,
And I do find
yeah,
that, like most people who come to me do have a fat loss goal, but longer term, I find that a more sustainable motivator to make good choices is that feel good factor. Because you can only pursue fat loss for so long and so frequently. Most of your life, ideally, you'll spend in more of a maintenance kind of range. So if you've only ever made good choices to try to get the scale to go down, you'll probably struggle a lot more with motivation.
yeah,
Whereas if the filter that's going through your head is how am I going to feel like an hour after I eat this? How am I going to feel when I, go to bed tonight? I mean, you can do that the rest of your life because you're always going to want to
yeah,
feel your best. And then when you feel better, I just think you don't want to give that up either. It's like, ooh, I've gotten a taste of how good I can feel. I want to maintain this.
yeah, yeah. And also, oh, I just had a thought. What was it? About eating well and well, I guess also this is not the thought I had. Hopefully, we'll come back. The other one is what you were saying about you can do that for life. I also think maybe there's also like a subconscious factor of like wanting to look after your body for your health. Like I'm 31 and you start to hear of like health issues and you have like your older people like your parents, but also people around you that have health issues. And if you've ever had a health scare, which probably most people have, and I definitely have, like luckily it was never anything that serious, but there's that moment where you have like a bit of a health scare and suddenly you appreciate how healthy you were until this happened. And I've had maybe two in the last few years, and I think I'm kind of grateful for them because in the end it was nothing, but it made me appreciate health. And so I think part of also doing all the right things and having the motivation to do them is because, well, I'd rather live in a healthy body and not be worried about illness. Obviously, it can happen to anyone at any point, but you can do the best you can to like look after your body. That's definitely a big motivator. And also, someone said to me the other day, they were like, I feel tired just looking at your life. How do you do everything? And I think it's also that, like, I have a ton of energy, and I think I have more energy because I look after myself. Um, and I'm excited about life and I'm doing stuff that I'm excited about. I think another thing I've developed over the last few years, like much more recently, is good boundaries. So also knowing like how to have boundaries and what do I want to do? How do I want to spend my time? And that also helps gives you energy. It's almost like a mental thing rather than actually like physically what I eat, but it's also like I show up with a lot of energy because I'm excited about the things I want to do. And I've made a point of cutting out the things that I was just doing because I felt I should, that actually weren't what I wanted to do.
I like that. Almost just an
Yeah.
audit across the board of, how is each decision, how is each activity making me feel? Is it a net positive or is it draining me a bit? And obviously, I think there's always going to be a level of we have to do at least some things we're not thrilled
Yeah.
about. But again, I think most of us, if you do that audit, there are a few pullable levers somewhere. The boundary setting side of things, getting a little mental peace, a little bit of mental energy back wherever you can, and then certainly
Yeah.
physically as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also think it happens slowly, like change happens slowly. Like I'm in a really good place with my nutrition now, but that didn't happen straight away. Like probably from that first, like when I went to university and I started going to the gym with the guys, like from then I was probably thinking about I should eat this, but then not doing it. And like going for like the ready meals and you're a university student and you don't have much money, but also you just can't be bothered. You don't really, you just decide on the spot what to eat. And then like over the years, sort of slowly getting better and better at it. And now, like I say, I don't feel like my meals take much effort and they're really simple. But to someone who doesn't eat like me, they might be like, oh, how do you have all the stuff in your house? Or how do you have the vegetables already in your house? It's like, I don't know, but when I go to the supermarket, like I'm thinking about those meals. I also have a lot of meals on repeat without it being too boring, but I do, if I'm tired or I know I have a busy week, then I don't worry about new meals. I just am like, out of the meals I already know how to make and I already make regularly that fit those criteria I was saying of like lots of veg, some carb, and some protein. Which one do I want to make? Great. Last night I had some girlfriends around, so I wanted to make something a little bit not just health focused. So I made that pasta bolognese, but like ultimately it's got like mushrooms and spinach in it. It's got protein, it's tomato sauce, like it's pretty healthy. It's got a bit of parmesan on top. And then pasta as a carb sauce is absolutely fine as a carb sauce. Like there's no issue with eating. I think sometimes people think pasta is like indulgent, but it's like, I mean, great if it feels indulgent because it tastes great, but it's not indulgent. It's a carb. It's absolutely fine to eat it. Yes, portion sizes matter. Um, but again, like if you do parkour and you're going to the gym 2 times a week, you're quite an active person, so you still need to eat. So yeah. But having go-to meals and eating meals on repeat is really helpful for just simplifying your life.
I couldn't agree more. And obviously, we both hear from people that they're afraid of being bored. But I think the thing that people, I want to say lose sight of, the thing that people don't realize, that's the phrase I'm looking for, is that if you actually enjoy the meals that you're choosing, like you don't mind that much. For example, I have the same
Mm.
protein oatmeal basically every morning, which I know to some people sounds boring, but it takes me 3.5 seconds to make at night. So when I wake up the next morning, I don't have to give any thought to my first meal. I think
Mhm.
it tastes great. If I want variety, I can tweak small things. It's fine. And great. I move on. So to me, it's not like
Yeah,
this punishment of, oh, I
yeah,
have this simple, boring diet. I'm like, no, I just have, say, 4 to 6 meals that I like a lot. And then occasionally I branch out. But in general, I don't want to spend too much
yeah,
time or mental energy on having to make decisions about food.
yeah, yeah. I'm laughing because I have the same. I either have
Okay.
overnight oats or porridge.
Yep.
Um, I kind of switch it up. Like I got a bit bored of overnight oats, so now I have porridge, but it's the same ingredients. It's just the porridge I make it fresh in the morning, with protein powder and blueberries, and literally that's it. But I enjoy it. I enjoy the flavor. Sometimes I make it vanilla, sometimes I make it chocolate, but I enjoy the flavor.
Definitely. Yes.
Um, and it's just I don't have to think. It's actually like it doesn't take very long to make, but it's also I don't have to think about it. And it doesn't have to be oatmeal, like you say. You might like 2 eggs on toast, like whatever you like, but it's like it fits within the goals I have and it gives me energy and it ticks the protein box and it's lots of blueberries in there. So like that's really healthy as well. But I enjoy it. Like I really enjoy it. So that's why I picked that one. Um, but again, like you say, like having meals on repeat, I have quite a broad range, but like and they're all meals I really enjoy. So like me and my flatmate make a Greek yogurt and salmon pasta. It's delicious, it's great, but it also fits like within the goals that I have. Greek yogurt and salmon have protein. I also make like a stir fry with like loads of veg, noodles, and either chicken or salmon again. There's just so many meals that are like they can be delicious. I love steak, for example. I love steak. So having like sweet potato, broccoli, and steak, it's really healthy, but it's also really delicious. So yeah.
Oh, for
Definitely
sure.
spend a bit of time finding meals that you love and maybe just tweaking them. So the salmon pasta, the first time I made it, I used, I can't remember now, creme fraiche maybe? Yeah, probably creme fraiche, which is a little bit high in fat, low in protein. Off the top, I think that's correct. And whereas Greek yogurt, the flavor doesn't taste change too much and it's much higher in protein. So just little tweaks like that. It could be like your favorite meal. Like it could be, I don't know, even maybe a mac and cheese, but can you just tweak it a little bit so it's lower in fat and higher in protein, for example?
Yeah, that's a great point about different small adjustments you can make that over the course of a day have a big cumulative difference. Even right recently, I've been trying to get my calories back down a little bit. So I've been making the same protein oatmeal, but just using half of the peanut butter portion that I typically use. And I save,
Yeah.
100 something calories there. And I honestly don't really notice a difference the next day when I'm eating it.
Yeah.
And no, 100 calories isn't huge in isolation, but a few tweaks like that throughout the day, maybe I'm 300,
Yeah.
400 calories lower and a bit more in line with my goals right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I love food. And like it is
Yeah.
important that you enjoy it. So it's definitely not about deprivation or restriction. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Georgia, before I let you go today, I did want to ask you the advice that you would give somebody, and I'm pulling us back to parkour here, the advice that you give somebody who is interested in trying it, but like feels whatever the hurdle is, like that just feels so far from anything I've done before.
Mm.
I don't want to get hurt, I'm sure is the biggest one. I'm sure age stuff comes up a lot. Like what are some of the tips that you give somebody who are like, okay, maybe I would do this, but I'm scared. I don't want to get hurt. I feel like I'm too old. I'm sure it's a lot of the same things that come up as strength training, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, great question. The first thing that comes to my mind is find someone who wants to do it too. Like, is there a friend who might be up for it so that you can go together? I think that really helps. And then look up in your area, is there anyone running sessions, running like open sessions or coach sessions, and go to that. Um, Reach out to me. I'm always happy to chat, on Instagram, Strength with G, and I can either like figure out, who's coaching in your area, or I work with people online as well. But I think one of the greatest things about parkour, and someone said this to me recently, where she said what she didn't realize about parkour until she did it was how nice everyone would be and how welcoming everyone would be. And she thought it was kind of scary to start parkour. She's like, I wish someone had told me before how nice everyone would be. Because, like in any sport, there are nice people and less nice people, but most people are really nice and really supportive and just want to see you have fun, and they want to help you to like understand and unlock movements, but also to have fun in the process. And you can make some really good friends. And like I have more than just friends, I have a whole community that is now my network, my support. When I've gone through hard times, like they're there for me as well. And last night, my two girlfriends who came round, we just hung out, and we do parkour together, but we just cooked dinner and had a catch up and just hung out. And their friendships I've made through parkour. So um, one of the best things you can get from it is to meet a bunch of people who love training as well and love training outdoors and having fun, having fun with movement. So you won't regret it, but that first step is hard, and having a friend who can come with you can really help. Or like just making a friend by reaching out to that group that's running sessions and just having a little back and forth on Facebook or Instagram, and just building up your confidence that, oh, like, okay, they're actually nice people, and maybe okay, I'll go along to the first session. Maybe I'll commit to just showing up and seeing if I like the vibe, and then go from there. And don't get put off if the first community you meet isn't the one for you. Like I say, there are very different communities out there. I can't guarantee they'll all be amazing, but most of them are so, so wonderful and so welcoming, and they're just so happy that you're there and that you also like this weird niche sport that they like too. So they will welcome you in.
Sure. No, those are great insights. I like the suggestion a lot of like something social, community based out of the gate, and then how that's what makes the whole experience so much more enjoyable is the people you go with, the people that you meet while you're there, and then stay connected with.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's something best shared.
Georgia, the very last thing I have for you today is something I call the fast four. So four things that are not parkour related, just whatever the first thing to come to mind is.
Okay, I like this.
First question is, what would you be doing if you were not a coach? If you're not helping people with fitness, nutrition, or parkour, what would you be doing?
Okay, I'm going to say the first thing that comes to my mind, which is architecture, something to do with architecture and design. I love looking at architecture in cities. I love looking at houses. So maybe I don't imagine myself as an architect. I think that's too much drawing. I'm not really a drawing person. So maybe I'd be designing the interiors. I think I'd like that more. But I love looking at like the streets and the houses. And I'm about to book a architecture walking tour in New York, in Manhattan, because I just want to hear more about the history and yeah, yeah, more about what actually, how those buildings were made and what style they used. So yeah, maybe I'd be an interior designer.
I like that. I can't remember if you've been to Buenos Aires before.
No, I've been around South America a lot, but never Argentina.
Okay, the reason I mention that is it's like world renowned for architecture. And I've done actually some tours here as
Cool.
well, where you learn so much about, actually, it's a lot of it's European influence. So from
Yeah,
Spain, from
makes sense.
Italy, from France. And I
Cool.
find, I mean, I'm not very well educated in architecture, but I find that when I do these tours, like it illuminates certain things that you wouldn't otherwise look for, just like certain
Yeah.
parts of certain buildings, or maybe a building that was initially constructed in one way and finished in another way, and just learning about the history of that. It's so yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if you ever make it down here, I think you'd like it a lot.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, yeah.
Second question. If you could teleport anywhere in the world right now, where would you go?
Oh my God. There's just so much to see. I love traveling. And it's like, I also, as I get older, I love being home and having a home you really love. But I do wish I could travel more. If I could teleport to anywhere, where would I go? Oh, that's a good question, but where would I go?
Tough.
It's really difficult. Oh, I know, actually. The Mediterranean, especially this time of year. It's May, June right now in Europe, so it's getting warmer in England. But like, I love the Mediterranean and I love the sea. So maybe like Greece or the south of Italy. Malta has amazing sea and amazing beaches, or not even beaches, but like cliffs. Um, I love being in the sea. So yeah.
A great answer. What is something small that always improves your mood?
Oh, food.
Yeah, that's a
If
perfectly
you're
legit
hungry, you're not.
answer.
Yeah, if you're hungry, you're not happy. I have a client who, she won't mind me sharing. I won't say her name, but like I have a client who always forgets to eat, and then I made her notice that when she eats, she tends to feel better and her mood's better. And she's like, "Yeah, I never feel better. To be fair, I'm always like just really happy." I'm like, yeah, maybe you should remember to eat. And so yeah, food can immediately change your mood and make you feel better.
Couldn't agree more. What's one thing that you are excited about right now?
Oh, moving to Brighton. So I'm in Brighton right now, on the coast, back where I went to university, but in a very different chapter of my life now. And I'm here to view a flat that is already, I'm pretty sure I'll be renting. It's through a friend, so it's pretty much set in stone. But I'm here just to view it and confirm everything. And I'll be moving to the seaside in July, which from London. So I live in London right now. I love London, nothing against it. I'm leaving London in a happy place, but I just really want to live somewhere a little bit smaller, and the idea of having the sea right there. So the flat I'm going to rent is a 5 minute walk to the beach. So in the mornings I can go down and have a swim in the
Great.
sea or visit the saunas, that they have saunas on the beach. Um, and I'm really excited. It's only like a month away, so I'm very excited about that.
I feel like that's such amazing like lifestyle difference and mental health booster, just proximity to the ocean. Like I'm the same way.
Mm.
Actually, when I moved down to Buenos Aires, my own fault for not researching it more. I thought based on what I saw on the map, just proximity to the ocean, there'd be at
Hmm.
least somewhere to access the water, but the whole city is built facing like inland, like it's facing away from the water for
Oh,
whatever reason. So you have to go like an hour outside of the city to get anything that resembles a beach. And I say that to say I'm with you. I notice the difference when I am away from the water versus when I live places where I have easier access like you'll have now. And it's just, oh my God, it's
yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the Mediterranean, but it's still
Sure.
more of a holiday type city. And London's only 55 minutes on the train. So I can go back up if I get bored or want, something different. But Brighton's a really cool, it's still a city and it's a really cool city. So I'm excited for the change.
Love it. If somebody wants to learn more about you, where should we send them?
Yeah, so my Instagram at strength with G, that's what everything is. There's a link in bio with more info of my website and things like that. And yeah, my DM's always open, always free for a chat.
I will be sure to add that to the show notes. And G, I really appreciate you being here today. This is a super fun chat.
My pleasure. Yeah, really nice to chat.